Hi everyone, welcome back to March Sadness, a series where I have bitten off more than I can chew. This has been quite the challenge, but I'm gonna see it through. And today we are talking about my favorite A Day to Remember album, Common Courtesy. Common Courtesy is one of those records that is elevated by the events that it was released around. Amidst a court battle with Victory Records and questions as to if this album would ever even come out, fans ended up receiving an email that Common Courtesy was available for purchase. It's impossible not to root for A Day to Remember here, and Common Courtesy feels like we finally got to hear this album take the stand and speak their piece against Victory Records. With all of this legal stuff looming over them during the production of this album, there had to be an elephant in the room that, even if this album gets released, there's a decent chance that it's gonna be our last record. So let's give this one everything we've got. And they did. Common Courtesy is a world tour of everything that A Day to Remember does right, except this time it has some actual lyrical stakes to it. Are these the last songs that they're making together? Are they ever gonna go on tour again? Will David beat Goliath? So they didn't leave anything on the table. They said, screw it, let's give Mom 4 soft songs on this record. Let's give them even more dramatic vocal flares. And since we're angry, let's give them a couple of songs to mosh to while we're at it. A Day to Remember just didn't hold back on Common Courtesy, and along with the bonus tracks on this album, we've got more than an hour of material, even if a couple of those minutes are commentary tracks on songs like I Remember. If you're more into the pop punk side of A Day to Remember, there's plenty for you here. If you're more into the heavier side of A Day to Remember, you're eating well too. I feel like both types of fans got an entire album's worth of content to listen to. And I think that these songs are A Day to Remember's best attempts at both sounds. You've got Right Back at It Again and City of Aala, which are two of my favorite A Day to Remember pop punk songs and tie together nicely not only as a 2-song intro to the album, but as a glimpse into the origin story for this band. The Mosher's Cups floweth over too. Violence has this addictive and nasty chorus, and Life Lessons is so over the top, it's like a self-aware slasher. I am completely on board. Naturally, the mosh pop blends are killer too. It's what A Day to Remember is known for in my head. Dare I say that Sometimes You're the Hammer, Sometimes You're the Nail is the best A Day to Remember song that has ever been released. The outro of that song gets me every time, and the screams are very impressive here as well. The vocals on this song and the whole album really are thick, layered, and massive. It's very rewarding to the careful listener because there's a ton going on here. Like this part that reminds me of church singing in Dead and Buried. Jeremy's screams start right before the YouTube copyright claim kicks in, but this part sounds like a gospel choir from hell. My ranking of these songs from best to worst has basically flipped and reversed over time. As I mentioned in the Homesick episode of March Sadness, I used to really favor the pop punk side of A Day to Remember, but these days I'm way more into the intensity of songs like Hammer and Violence and Document. Common Courtesy is not only home to some career best songs by A Day to Remember, it's also the final album in an insane 3-run streak by this band, and possibly even the strongest in that streak. Although I do like Bad Vibrations, if Common Courtesy would have been the final A Day to Remember album, it would have been quite the exclamation point to end their career. And basically ever since this album came out, it's been my favorite in their catalog. It's been an absolute blast revisiting Common Courtesy by A Day to Remember. I hope to see you tomorrow for the next installment of March Sadness. Be sure to drop a like, it really helps out a small channel like mine, and I will see you tomorrow.